Hey, 20-2s. Welcome to the last lesson in this unit, solving equations part 2. All right, part 2 sounds like it's going to be scary, right? Usually part 2 is worse than part 1 in math, but not in this case, friends. This one will be okay. So we're just going to solve, but what we're going to do in this one is we're also going to state all restrictions. So restrictions again, what I'm looking for is I'm saying to myself, what could be underneath the radical, right? Our radicand. Well, what I know is that what's underneath there has to be non-negative. It has to be greater than or equal to 0. So I say x plus 5 has to be greater than or equal to 0. So I isolate for x. There's my restriction. Whatever answer we come up with, whatever solution we have, it has to be bigger than or equal to -5. If I was looking at the next one, again, I look what's underneath my radical. I say it has to be bigger than or equal to 0, and I isolate for x. So add 8, divide by 2. There it is. Okay, those are my restrictions. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to solve both of these. So this is the slightly trickier part. All right, so I'm just going to rewrite the question here. So it's right here in front of me. Okay, to solve these are a little trickier. So what I'm going to do is I see I've got a radical on one side and I've got other stuff that doesn't have a radical on the other side. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rearrange this so my radical is on one side. So I'm going to add the 3 over, so x plus 3, and I'm going to add the root x plus 5. So notice what I did. I got the radical by itself. So I isolate for the radical. So isolate that radical. Then I'm going to say to myself, well, I've got to get rid of that square root. I got to get rid of that radical. So the inverse of a square root is squaring. So what I do to one side, I do to the other, right? Because I want to maintain that balance. Okay, so now I'm going to get rid of the square root. So I'm going to remove the square root by squaring. Okay, now when I square this, on the right-hand side is easy. But on the left-hand side, a lot of people forget at first that that's actually x plus 3 times x plus 3. I suggest you write that out. On the right-hand side, well, the square and the square root undo each other. Okay. Now on the left-hand side, we're going to distribute this out. Maybe you like to use the term FOIL. So you're going to get x squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9 is equal to x plus 5. Okay. Now we're going to collect some like terms. So there's a lot of steps here. 6x plus 9 is equal to x plus 5. Okay, I want to solve this thing. It's a trinomial. So I want one side equal to 0. So I'm going to bring everything over to the left-hand side. Equals 0. Okay, it's a trinomial, my friends. So we can solve. So step 3 is solve. How we're going to solve this thing is we are going to factor. So I say to myself, I need two numbers that multiply to positive 4, add to positive 5. Those two numbers are 4 and 1. So when I factor this, it's a simple trinomial, x plus 4, x plus 1 equals 0. And now I can see it's x is equal to -4, x is equal to -1. There's my solutions. Okay, but what I need to go and check is my restriction. What did we say? We said our restriction was x had to be greater than or equal to -5. How did we do? Well, both of them are bigger than or equal to -5, so we have two solutions. There they are. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, so like I said, there's definitely more steps involved in this, isn't there? Okay, let's try another one. Let's try this one on the right here. So let's set it up again. X is equal to 4 plus root 2, oops, typo, 2x minus 8. Okay, so I'm going to isolate for the square root. So I'm going to subtract the 4. like that. Okay, I need to get rid of that square root, so I square both sides because the inverse of square rooting is squaring. I'm going to write out x minus 4 twice. 2x minus 8 squared is 2x minus 8. That's why we did that. Okay, we distribute out the two binomials. If you like to say FOIL, that's the time to say it. Okay, plus 16. What we're going to do now is we're going to bring everything to one side. So this will be x squared minus 8x minus 2x is minus 10x plus 24 equals 0. It's a trinomial, so when we're factoring, we have to have one side equal to 0. Okay, now we're going to factor this thing. So what we're going to say is we need two numbers that multiply to 24, add to negative 10. Okay, so those two numbers then are negative 6 and negative 4. So our binomial is x minus 6, x minus 4 is equal to 0. And solving then, it's x is equal to 6, x is equal to 4. So I put a box around those two things. I come back up to my restriction. What was my restriction? It said x had to be greater than or equal to 4, right? So I come back down to here. I look at my answers. They're both greater than or equal to 4. I'm okay. Okay, but on occasion, remember from the last video, that won't be the truth, and we'll get an extraneous root, and you will cross it off. Okay, but not in these two cases. So again, what you're going to do, isolate for that radical. So move it to the other side if you have to. Usually then square both sides, and then step 3, you can then start solving. And a lot of the solving in this section is going to involve factoring. There it is, amigos. That is all of radicals.